Hello, Sean Innings here. Welcome to the MicroCapClub Member Spotlight. In these interviews, we'll be showcasing many of the talented members of MicroCapClub. Today, we have Sergio Heiber, a private investor. Sergio, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Tell us, Sergio, about your background and what are some of the things that you're doing today.
As far as the microcaps,
Well, it's really everything. Yeah.
So I'm late to come into the investment world. It all started. My father-in-law got sick, and he couldn't handle his investments, and he asked me to manage his portfolio, which was pretty large. And I said, okay, but the only problem was I didn't know a thing about investing. And my wife and I got along pretty well until that moment. She took me by the neck and she said, if you ever lose a penny, I will kill you. And I didn't. So the natural thing to do was to study Warren Buffett and try to follow his learnings. And I did. I forgot the name of the book, but it's like my Bible, and I should know the name of it, but it was written by his daughter and ex-wife, and it breaks down the basics. So anybody, including me, who was a total know nothing, could follow it and start applying. But it got a little bit boring because it was you might as well buy the SPY, and that's what Warren Buffett's advice was to, if he should die, where should his wife invest? Invest in the SPY and get some bonds, and that's all you need, And then I started to study a little bit more, and I learned that professional people managing money put their own money in the SPY, regardless of what they did for their customers. They put the SPY for themselves. So it got a little bit boring, and I started reading Barron's. I started reading magazines, and then I just started learning about the crowd mentality. I got involved with technical analysis and learned everything I could about technical analysis, which is kind of the preamble to using AI for trading, because it's just patterns. It's going to work because it's programmed to work, So the more that's how a computer is going to respond, and they do it so quick. But all these things pointed me to get smaller and smaller. And then I started writing for Seeking Alpha, and I did for the exercise. I mean, I didn't make much money writing for Seeking Alpha, but it made me work. And the editors are pretty tough on the smaller stock that you get, the smaller cap that you get, the tougher they get. They should be that tough on people that write short articles. For some reason, they don't apply the same editorial context. But it helped me to learn stuff better by having to meet the editorial requirements for Seeking Alpha. And then I ran into a member from Seeking Alpha. He goes by Quarky, and he's old enough to be my son, and we became really good friends. We wrote articles on the same stock, and the stock had been going up tremendously. It had just uplisted from OTC to NASDAQ, and then it got hit by shorts, and years later, it turned out that some of the things that the shorts were saying were correct, but I didn't like that they made up stuff in the article that had the CEO lived in a shack, and all kinds of nonsense. But I became friends with Quarky. This was in 2019, and Quarky told me about MicroCapClub, and I started looking at OTC stocks. I was not familiar with how OTC regulations had changed, how all that cheating and false reporting that was rampart in OTC had changed years ago, and there's more fraud in the NYSE than there is on the OTC because it's so very well regulated. As long as you skip pink sheets, and which are non-reporting, and so it led me to start studying stocks that were uplisting, because that's the one that I was involved with Quarky. And I did a 3-year study looking at stocks that are uplisted and the whole uplisting process from OTC to NASDAQ, it was really interesting and revealing. Not every company that says that they're going to uplist ever does.
Right.
Some don't even meet the requirements, but they keep saying that they're going to uplist. Some do just to raise money, especially the preclinical biotechs. It's just about raising money, and then they shoot up until they uplist, and then that's it. That woof, they die. The prices drops. So it's a hard way to find quality stocks, but it led me to my next adventure. It's in companies that are one of a kind, that nobody else in the world does what they do. They do the same process in a different way, or they have a new drug, or just that they change the world. And they're starting small. And I think what makes me different is I concentrated 100% of my portfolio in those type of stocks, and they're about as risky as you can get. Most of them do not succeed.
Right.
And by losing money, I learned everything that you don't do, what to avoid, and I got better at being able to determine what the chances for success. So I have my own rule book on looking at a stock and analyzing it, and I apply this to, the same kind of review goes into spin-offs. So like you take a large company and they're spinning off, and they're spinning off because that is an asset that's not.
It's not core, right?
Yeah, so they want to value it better, and also it's they want to exploit the potential for getting new customers. It's kind of the same thing as a startup. They have a product and they want the world to know about it.
Oh, Sergio, can you tell me, so you told us a really good amount of information about your journey going into, investment world, and then kind of getting your way to the microcap land and then to MicroCapClub. But what did you do beforehand?
Oh, I had a long career. So I was a late bloomer, and I didn't have any career. I didn't have anything but a car and a radio and a pair of jeans and a shirt. And I had no ambition whatsoever. But then I met the dream woman of my life. I mean,
That's awesome.
she just swept me off my feet. And I realized that she's going to want more from me than that. And so I got my college degree very fast. If I told you wouldn't believe me. And I started applying for jobs. And my father was a guy that was the opposite of responsible. And so I didn't want to follow those footsteps. So I wanted a job that would give me a steady income, and I would have a family with this wonderful woman. So I got a job working for the government. I worked in child support.
Yep.
And for 30 years, and I hated it. And I couldn't wait to retire. And I retired at 54.
Oh, wow. That's pretty quick.
Yeah. And then that's when I started getting involved a little bit with stocks, and more and more and more. And now that's what I do, pretty much. So
what would you say are some of, your unique kind of strengths? Like what makes Sergio?
So, I saw that you asked that question, so I kind of prepared. So I think we're all unique. All of us are unique. And it's how that combination of different factors that we have in our personality. So I think it's the combination of stuff that I was widowed in 2009, and I had to reinvent myself, and it was really a great process, because it was like it's like being a kid all over again, but you're old, and so you have to learn everything again. And I learned about not being stuck, and you always have to learn. And the market doesn't stay still. The market moves, and you have to be able to move with it. If you keep doing the same thing, it's not going to work. And so I think what makes me unique is the combination of curiosity, that I love what I do, and I'm willing to spend the time, and I'm willing to admit that pretty much most of the time I'm an idiot and have to learn.
So you're really good at adapting to different situations, the dynamic part of the market, and then being able to figure out what your limitations are and just trying to expand it little by little.
To learn from my mistakes, I say is my best quality. To learn for, so I started interviewing MicroCap CEOs, and some of the stuff they said didn't make any sense. And I figured I'm pretty dumb because I don't understand what he's saying. And then I started realizing if I don't understand it, it's not my fault. That they're not doing something right. And so I learned that the hard way. So now I go into interviewing companies and the exact opposite. It's not to learn what they want to tell me. I want to learn what they don't want to tell me, and I want to know what's wrong with this tech, because there's something wrong with each one. Any one of these companies has something wrong with them. So if I don't find that, I'm not doing my job as an investor. I got to find what's wrong and what they're not telling me.
Right. And what would you say, Sergio, is the style that you've found yourself drifting towards in terms of investing? You said you adapt pretty well, but what would you say you are at right now?
So this is where I think I differ with just about anybody else. And I think anybody listening to this is going to go like this, but I don't worry about risk because I play with the house money, and I have my pension fund from working for the state, and I do this because I love it, and I don't worry about the risk. But I don't want to buy a shitty stock. I don't want to invest in a shitty stock. So I'm trying to make money, but I don't mind having my portfolio be 100% in microcaps, 100% in startups, because I can take that risk. And I got lucky at the beginning. I hit it on just the right time, and so I was able to build a war chest that I can withstand losing. And then, I like to stay with the stock, and I still wait for Seeking Alpha, although as the market got tight with market, they got even tougher with their editing, and and I have a large following, I consider a large following for a non-professional guy, and I stay with the same stocks until they don't do what they say that they were going to do, so when all of a sudden they have a policy shift and then the investor deck all of a sudden changed and disappeared, whatever their goals were are no longer the goals, and it disappeared. And when you talk to company officials and you get three different stories, but then I'll stop following it. But I never write short articles. I never say I'm out of a stock unless somebody asks me. I write positive articles, and I try to find the fleas in this. I can come up with that too, but I'll have repeat articles, and then I couldn't do that with Seeking Alpha. They wouldn't let me write follow-up articles in the same stock, and so I'm not happy participating there as much as I do. I do like that they offer different opposing viewpoints, and so I like to use it as a resource, and so I'll write an article every 2 months to keep my free membership.
So Sergio, what would you say are some of the unique kind of things about MicroCapClub and what you've learned from the community, and just really anything you have to say?
I love how educated people are, and they'll let you know if you're making a mistake or if you don't see something, and they'll let you know, and they do it in a friendly way. There's hardly ever bad blood between anybody. It's really civilized, and I find it as a great growing opportunity to read what other people say. So in talking to other people about investments, no two people do it the same way.
Right.
And so everybody you talk to, you're going to learn something from, especially in MicroCapClub. And these are people that are dedicated. So I talked to one member yesterday, and I asked him, "What do you think about my stock picking?" And he said, he agrees with me 50% of the time. So, and I think that's awesome, because that's a lot, 50% of the time, So I can't think of. There's a couple guys I really follow. I'm not gonna say, but there's a couple guys that I think are fantastic. The stuff that they come up with,
Right.
And the most awesome thing is Michael, who is part of this. Michael Liu.
Oh, Michael Luke. Yeah.
He did one job on. I can't believe and I had commented it, so I'll say it. I commented on his write up. He did research that was just on another level. It was like 3D chess.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, he was just incredible. But he's not the only one. There's several guys that are light years ahead of everybody else.
Well, that's the one thing. Like I've been a member since like 2014, and just being able to talk with anybody, it's all pretty much level playing field, and there's so much learning and growing that you can do within the community. It's and then me just being able to interview you, learn more about you. It's just the amount of connections that I've been able to make over the years has been phenomenal, and I'm sure you're newer, but you definitely have already been able to see that huge value.
And it's the more stocks you follow, the more people that you'll connect with. And I tend to follow. I like to be as far from the crowd as possible because I don't want the crowd to move the stock. I want the stock to move the stock. Right. So, and a lot of people in MicroCapClub want to look at how much product at what price over what period of time, and they do the accounting. And I don't do that. I don't do that because it never works out. Right. There's no point in that. I mean, the one thing in the MicroCap world that's my biggest flaw is, and I think it's difficult for everybody, all of us, is that nothing works out the way that it was drawn out, and there's no way to account for that. So I don't even try. But and that's why I like working with companies that have no competition, because it's a matter of time. And right. If they're executing, it's just a matter of time. So it doesn't matter how fast or how slow, as long as they don't give up their lead. And that's one of the things that I look at, is that do they have the capacity to capture that market? And so I shy away as soon as I see that the company has no big brother, no alliances with an institution like a college or government agency. If they're going at it alone, good luck. They're not right. going anywhere.
Sergio, I really appreciate the time that you've been able to stay here, chat with us. Is there any other places? So on MicroCapClub, you're Sergio Heiber. Any other places you said Seeking Alpha? How can people see you there, or can people find you elsewhere on the internet?
Yes, there's a kind of news site, and at first I said no thanks, and I welcome anybody else that wants to join. There's a few people from Seeking Alpha that have joined. It's this younger person came up with the idea that everybody uses their cell phone for everything now, and they multitask. So they could be cooking dinner or changing the baby's diaper, but they're looking up a stock or something else, right? So why not have a video for every stock? And he wants to sell those videos to, if you go to Yahoo and you look up IBM, you can click on the video so you can keep cooking your dinner. So he's got different people with different points of view doing videos. And at first it was just 2-minute videos. And when he asked me to do it, I said, I can't cover a stock in 2 minutes. That's ridiculous. And then I thought about it, and I really liked it because I don't have to sell the stock. I have to tell somebody what to look at, right. So, and I enjoyed that, to put it into a 2-minute capsule, but then he ruined it and extended it to 10 minutes. So I have to do more work, but he's in the early stages. It's free. It's stockpick.app, and I've done about 200 videos there.
Oh, wow. That's quite a bit. Again, Sergio, thanks for joining us. Hope to talk with you soon.
Thanks for letting me visit you, Sean. Nice to meet you.